Japanese car companies that we all know and love, have a big problem. And right now they're at a crossroads. Either consolidate and die, or separate and diversify and live. So today, in this video, I'm going to show you my plan for how Subaru and Honda can save themselves from the eventual slow death. About what I think brands should do, but there's a really big issue. You see, Japanese brands they're struggling. And it's not that they're struggling so much now, it's that in the future they're going to have a really big problem. Because right now there is a bunch of overlap with the Japanese brands, and things are crumbling down. We already see the weakest among them, mainly being Mitsubishi and Nissan having to huddle together with Honda. It's just going to be terrible for them over these next years with economic downturn. It is going to be a disaster. But here are some changes that I think I would make to mainly Honda and Subaru, and we'll talk about the bigger picture here because, as the title of this video probably says, there is a gigantic issue with Japanese brands. Starting off with Honda, issues with Honda is that great competition. The Ford Bronco Sport smokes Honda out in terms of price. The Corolla Cross smokes Honda out in terms of performance, economy. The only thing that Honda has over Toyota is price, and that doesn't even count because Mitsubishi has beat all of that out by price. And so Subaru's just kind of in the middle here, and they make the same cars that the rest of them do. They all make the same cars, for the same people, for the same demographics, and the same sizes, and the same colors. That is going to be an issue when selection is large, but there's no more buyers, you know what I mean? Moving on, playing into their weakness, Subaru has always been great at small cars. And here in America, see, here's the thing. A while ago, the car landscape is different than it was today. Back in 2018, it was super saturated. There was the Mitsubishi Mirage. Hyundai had it in. Honda. Every car company had their own small car. Now there is literally none. Aside from the Nissan Versa, which is being discontinued, there is no classic four-lug nut small car being sold in the United States brand new. Honda is great at making small cars, and none of these other companies, because remember, it's a different climate. They think that if they introduce a small car, no one will buy it and it'll be poor, because that's how it was previously. Toyota is staying away from small cars because, believe it or not, they had the Yaris IA. They had two of the same car, one with an I. They were selling essentially the same car twice, and we're wondering why it wasn't working. So they're all tortured. They're like, we're never going to sell small cars again. They're just not profitable. Well, now, because no one sells them, sure, do small cars have that large of a market? Not really brand new. There are people that like the manuals and stuff, so kind of, but not really. Is it hard to sell a small car when a lot of other people are selling small cars? Will that be profitable? No. But is it now when literally no one's making it? Sure, the market share for small cars may be smaller than, per se, SUVs or family cars, family SUVs. But the important thing is here, there's no competitors. So Honda can have all of that market share. They can own the small car industry. And who can do it better than Honda? Another thing is lack of identity. Subaru's identity is all-wheel drive and being off-road. Toyota's identity is fast, sporty, cutting-edge, EV. They have things that are unique to them. Honda has nothing. When you think of Honda, what do you think of? They don't even have an off-road brand. They don't have a sporty brand. They maybe have the Prelude, but other than that, they just make normal, basic cars. And that's not an issue right now, but I'm telling you, it will be soon. And they have terrible partners. Nissan Motor Corporation, Honda, Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi is a terrible choice because they beat out Honda in price. Nissan is coming to the ground. Nissan can't sell, which means Honda's not going to be able to sell, and the whole Honda-Nissan merger is a terrible idea. First of all, Japanese car companies merging is always a terrible idea. They've always been extremely competitive, and as soon as things start to pick up again, Honda and Nissan are going to be competing with each other, and they're going to end up splitting up or just dying. It's like the relationship between Chrysler and Mercedes. One of them's going to come out on top, and one of them's going to be the small one that's going to become the budget brand, and neither of them right now fit into those boxes. And then Mitsubishi's running off with Nissan. Well, Honda doesn't even want to touch Mitsubishi. These are terrible partners for Honda. Honda is above that. Honda should be working with Subaru. They should be working with Mazda. They should be working with Toyota. Nissan and Mitsubishi are a great fit because there's not a whole lot of overlap. Mitsubishi makes one luxury SUV, yes, but they make a bunch of smaller, cheaper little SUVs. Those SUVs are the same thing that Nissan doesn't really sell anymore, aside from the kicks. They work good. Honda is just Nissan in a trench coat, and they don't, people that are the same don't end up making good relationships. So here's some models I'd kill with Honda. The Honda HR-V. I mean, what branding is this? Like, I understand that Toyota came out with the CHR, so they came out with the HR-V, but really, what is this doing? The competition is so much better. Would you have this or a Corolla Cross? The Corolla Cross, I think it beats it out in price now. It's more, watch my video on small SUVs. It's more economical, it's faster, has bigger engine. Yeah, it's just better in every way. The Honda HR-V can't compete, and even worse, it's diluting the brand. HR-V doesn't mean anything. It's just three random letters. Three random letters. It's like, who cares? They're trying to pull from the CRV, but also the CRV is massively successful. So why, instead of just using the CRV name, slapping it on something and calling it Sport, which would bring the CRV buyers and say, I want a CRV, but you want to know what? I don't need all that extra space. Why don't I just get a CRV Sport instead? Look at how well it worked with the Nissan Rogue Sport, known as the Qashqai over in Europe. That worked great. Why isn't Honda doing that? The Passport. Listen, everybody loves a clown. Like, what were we doing here? The issue with Honda is that they look like a dying car company to themselves. Like, they're freaking themselves out when really, back then, they didn't really have an issue. They thought, oh, we're dying. We need a car to compete here. We're not doing good. And they brought out the Passport. And the Passport was just, who is this even for? It was literally the same as the Pilot, just without a third row and a little bit shorter. Why? Why? Does Honda want to have a family of SUVs? Does Honda not want to have a family of SUVs? It's impossible to tell what Honda's wanting. And the Passport? Why get a Passport? And now I get that they've made the price. They've made more cheaper versions of the Passport and cut the cheaper versions of the Pilot. I get what they're trying to do here. The Passport is the cheap version of the Pilot. But why not just make a cheap version of the Pilot and get rid of the Passport? You know what I'm saying here? And Ford models, these are Ford models that I'd be bringing over because, again, small cars, we need them. The Honda City. The Honda City has been around forever. It's an excellent small car. It's modern enough to where they wouldn't even have to redesign it. Why aren't they bringing it to the United States now? I get tariffs. They could open a factory. Again, this is the difference. With Suzuki, I made a video on Suzuki. They would have to rely on Toyota a lot to come to the United States because they're a small car company and they could not afford to make new models. Honda has all the money in the world, and yet they choose to sit on it instead of spending it and making more development. You want to know why? Because there's a board room of shareholders out there that they're talking to that are convincing them profit, profit, profit. Profit, profit. Well, guess what, guys? If you want the profit to last, you actually have to sell some cars here, and you actually have to be imaginative. Moving on, the Honda Fit / Jazz, we need to bring this guy back. It was very popular in the United States, and with a hybrid version, Toyota's got the hybrids. Hit them where they need to be hit. Toyota is the king of hybrids. Why can't Honda? Honda came out with the Insight. They brought the first hybrid over to the USA, even though the Prius was first in Europe. So why aren't they capitalizing on that? Ridiculous. And the Subaru Crosstrek. Listen, I think Subaru's... Sorry for the little cutout there. My PNG tool isn't the best. The issue with their partners is that they're terrible. Honda should partner with Subaru. Now, that sounds crazy because Toyota has a 30% share in Subaru. I get that. But why can't Subaru, Toyota, and Honda not really work together, but more just work on things? You know what I mean? Like, they're already doing it with the EVs. Subaru has, 3 EVs that Toyota designed that they've just slapped their badge on? You want to... Honda, trust me, there's also a Subaru portion of this slide. Honda will give up enough to make sure that, because the Crosstrek is a very popular model for Subaru, so rebadging that as a Honda would really hit them hard. Trust me, Honda will give enough to strengthen Subaru's brand that it'll be worth it for them in the meantime. Now for new models. Okay, listen. For the other brands, I try to make it easy. I try to say, oh, well, you can just bring this over, bring that over, rebadge this, and then you're done, and that's a lineup. That's not going to be how it's going to go. They need to actually make some cars here, starting off strong with the Honda Element. They're bringing it back, and they're going to develop it with Subaru. What better for Subaru than a rugged, boxy off-roader that they could put their name on, that people would love, that would be affordable, and could come in a truck version? What better? That's literally Subaru's entire brand identity. The Element is Subaru before Subaru. It's got all-wheel drive as standard. Not as standard, but, Subaru could do that. It's weird. It's wonky. And the same people who bought the Element are the people who nowadays buy Crosstreks. It'd be fantastic for Subaru, and it'd be fantastic for Element. I mean, talk about strengthening the brand. There's an active community for that car, and it's like 20 years old. The Honda Crossroads. The Honda Crossroads was a rebadged version in the beginning of a Honda Pilot. Later, they kind of used the design language of, now this is kind of a dated design, but I'm trying to go for retro here, bringing back the fun days of Honda. The Honda Crossroads, then they took a lot of inspiration from the Honda Element in the later years. That's what I want to bring back. Plastic cladding, the greens, the oranges, the fun colors. Also, for families that want to go exploring, that's a big thing now. Jeep is really selling in that. Families that want to go exploring, parents that have kids that don't want to give up their life. That's what the Honda Crossroads for. It's a Honda Element. The kids that grew up with a Honda Element, either their parents drove them in one or they bought one as their first car, can now buy a Honda Crossroads for a little bit of nostalgia. Honda Skyline. Why did we never make a Honda Element truck? They need it, and Subaru could really, 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 really use it too. Think about this. Skyline, I'm using line for the truck, so Skyline, Shoreline, Ridgeline, you know what I'm saying? Spoiler alert. They really need some small trucks. And I'll talk to you about why when I get into the explanation of why it works. CRV Sport, come on, we need to replace the aging HRV with the CRV Sport. It'll be a new model. It can be co-developed with Subaru. I don't think it has to, but I think it could be, and I put it in the Subaru, yeah, it'd be possible. The idea is essentially replace the HRV and strengthen the brand lineup with another CRV Sport. People that are going for the CRV would opt for the CRV Sport if they don't think they need all that room. Meanwhile, convincing someone that wants a CRV to buy an HRV is a little bit more difficult. Like, I get it with the V, they're really trying there, but again, what kind of brand identity is that? In the Honda Shoreline, in both two-door and the weird half-cab thing versions, I think this would be really useful because you can have the Skyline at the bottom, the Ridgeline in the middle, and the Shoreline at the top. Now, the Shoreline wouldn't be big in the interior department. That's what the Ridgeline has always been about. Comfortable interior, small bed. Shoreline is the semi-comfortable interior, long bed. This is for actually working people that don't just want, because, again, trucks, the market is fine, but it's not doing too great, and Ford is pretty much the only one that's doing good. Toyota's trying with their trucks, but their trucks have been shit, and they can't think of anything good. So why can't Honda swoop in? Honda's made trucks before. Honda's made very, very good trucks before, so why can't they continue that lineage? This would be based off the Honda Crossroads. Honda Fit Cross Tour. Cross Tour. It's time to talk about that. They came out with the Honda Accord Cross Tour, and I thought that that was one of the best things that they could have ever done, because Subaru was really leaning into the brand identity of having all-wheel drive. So why couldn't Honda come out again? Cross Tour. A lot of people would see that and they'd say, "Oh, well, this is crazy. We can't do that. It's going to be so difficult." Guys, all it is a Honda Fit with maybe a body kit, maybe some stick-on plastic cladding, and all-wheel drive. The Cross Tour doesn't mean it's an entirely separate car. All it means is it has all-wheel drive and some plastic cladding. That's really cheap to get essentially your entire sub-brand. Honda Insight. We're bringing the Insight back. It'll be a hybrid only, and to make up for it, we'll kill the Honda Civic Hybrid. Listen, this will sit between the Accord and the Civic, and trust me, people will buy it. Subaru will also use this as the new Subaru. I'm not going to spoil it, but Subaru will also use this as well. Honda Insight, it's like a small crossover hatchback thing. It's kind of in the middle. Trust me, a lot of people don't really want an Accord. They don't really want a Civic. They just want a little bit extra room. That's what the Insight's for. And also, it could be another hybrid that would kill Toyota. Finally, avenge the Insight and make a car worth driving. The Honda Crossroads. This is just the Insight, but a Crossroads version. And we're not going to call it the Insight Crossroads because, again, you have to understand naming here. Insight is a shaky name. They're not familiar with it. And if they are familiar with it, they knew that it was a shitty hatchback 20 years ago. We don't want to build off that name. So this will just be the Honda Crossroads. Everything else will be built around this. Trust me, you cannot lie to me and tell me it will not sell. It is a crossover. Worst comes to worst, we can raise the hood and make it look a little bit more like an Infiniti. They've gotten away with that in the past. Trust me, I know wagons aren't... It's the same situation with the small cars. Nobody makes small cars, so if one person makes a small car, they get all the sales. Nobody makes wagons, so if one person makes a wagon, they get all the sales. Look at how amazingly successful the Subaru Outback has been. That's a wagon. People that want wagons only have one option. Trust me, they're going to buy that option. The Accord Cross Tour. What do I need to say? They're bringing it back. That'd be nice. It'd be nice to have. It's a great model, strengthen the brand lineup. Honda City Cross Tour. I know so many people that buy Mazdas. Why do they buy Mazdas? Because they have all-wheel drive. They buy the CX-3 and now the CX-30 because they want what they really want is a hatchback with all-wheel drive. They can't get that, so they buy the CX-30. They pay that premium for an SUV when all they really need is all-wheel drive. Cross Tour, trust me, this would become an enthusiast car overnight. A small Japanese hatchback with all-wheel, or you can market it as four-wheel drive because they're pretty much the same, with plastic cladding. Trust me, people would jump on that, especially 10 years from now. And trust me, cars like the Integra, those are pulling, and the Element, those are pulling a hard line for Honda's brand identity right now, and those were made like 20 years ago. So imagine what this could do for Honda in the future. And the Ford strategy. Ford is winning. Ford is pulling the sheet over our eyes. I really have to say, they're working in a way that Honda just cannot fathom. They're making light trucks that are based off of light SUVs. They're making off-road SUVs. I know the Ranger doesn't really count, but you see how it works. You have the Bronco Sport and then the Maverick. You have the Bronco and then you have the Ranger. Medium truck, medium SUV, light truck, light SUV. Here we go. Honda could do that same thing. The Element. Come on. Out of all the makers in the world, who do you think would be better at small trucks? The Japanese? Remember the Toyota pickup? You remember all the small, amazing Japanese trucks that we've had? You're telling me they can't even give, Ford a shot, so, a run for their money. They can't even try. To hell with it. Why not? Make some rugged trucks. And it'd be expensive for Honda to design it. But the first element, you want to know how they got around that? They just designed it off of the CR-V platform. Why can't they pull that again? The element was just essentially a redesigned 3rd generation Honda CR-V. Why can't they just make it a redesigned 6th generation Honda CR-V? Wouldn't be that painful. And then how the brand works, this is just a little bit of stuff. So you have the regular. You have all the needs. Now, I get that the Insight is going to stick out like a sore thumb. I get that the Insight isn't going to sell well. But if it gives us brand identity, we'll just spend less money on ads. You know what I'm saying here? Then for the Cross Tours, line up. People want the Cross Tour. The Cross Tour could be as infamous as Subaru. We want people to buy this, so there has to be a lineup. Thick lineup, very well designed, very well thought out, popular, perfect. And then the commuter versus rugged. It's kind of like its own separate sub-brand. For the commuter, you have the small SUV, which would be the CR-V, and then the family SUV, which is the Pilot. I wouldn't really call it small. And then for the rugged, again, based off of the Honda CR-V, you'd have the Honda Element and then the Honda Crossroads. Perfect. And the Crossroads would be a little bit smaller than the Pilot, so it could replace the aging... How old is that thing? 10 years old? The Honda... What is that thing called? The one that I just... whine about that I hate, the Passport. It could replace the aging Passport. The Crossroads is a much stronger name than Passport. The thing never really worked out. Now for Subaru. Subaru. The issues with Subaru are large. They're very large. Great partners, terrible results. EVs. I have to say, EVs are killing the Japanese brands. They're killing them. They can't do it. They just cannot do it. They're trying to keep up with Ford. They're trying to keep up with Tesla. They're trying to keep up with these dedicated EV companies, and they just can't. Every single time. See, people are going to criticize me. They're going to say, oh, well, these won't sell, blah, blah, blah. So maybe I'll give you that. Maybe I'll say wagons aren't popular. But you want to know what really isn't popular? An EV wagon that's the same between 2 different brands at the same price from each brand. That is stupid. That's how GM killed Holden. They brought every single car. They fluffed out the lineup. Each car was essentially the same thing. They had 5 different sedans all in the same size. That's how they killed Holden. The Japanese car companies are going to essentially commit suicide by making 50,000 EVs, all with the same name, all under 15 different brands, all with the same starting price. It's ridiculous. If they want to make the same EV and have multiple brands reap the benefits, what they should do is make one car company, one dedicated EV car company, and have it be sponsored and co-ownered by all the brands. Diluting the brand image. I mean, come on, the Outback is their most popular model. Again, if you want people to buy your stuff, you have to sell the stuff. You get like wagons. Again, there are no wagons on sale. That's why the Subaru Outback has done incredibly well. So why make the Outback an SUV? That's an incredibly saturated market. You already have the Ascent. Why? We can keep the current Outback, but it's not going to be called Outback because that thing is just not. And the biggest change... Vexterra. This is a bad name. Listen, they didn't hire me. It's not my professional job. This is just a concept. A joint venture between Subaru, Honda, and Toyota. Honda was so desperate for EVs, they ran over to GM. That's something you should never do. GM doesn't know how to put their socks on. Every time I see a new GM car, I'm surprised both of its legs aren't in the same pant leg. They can't figure out how to build regular cars, and you're trusting them for EVs, which are horrible. Talking about diluting brand image, the worst thing you can dilute is the brand's reputation. And the stupid Honda, what is it? The Prostate, the Prologue, that thing's the worst Honda forever in the history. Vexterra, joint venture between Subaru, Honda, and Toyota, with Toyota probably having a large share and Subaru being pretty minuscule in the ownership. Perfect. Listen, I also want to talk about AI for a minute here. I do these myself. I draw them out, and then I have AI make them look realistic. That way you don't have to look at pen and pencil basic drawings and stuff. They're pretty radical. This is very concept car-y, and I'm not a fan of it. This is what the Subaru Solterra and Toyota bZ4X would look. All I'm saying is this is the new Highlander and Subaru other thing, and then this is the CHR. They should all just be under one brand, one EV brand, sponsored by the Japanese automobiles. Say, 50 years of heritage, 50 years of driving, make Vexterra, sell them at the dealerships of Subaru, Honda, and Toyota, just... And again, this does not mean that Honda and Toyota have to come together, or that Honda and Subaru... Remember, my plan for Honda is actively killing Subaru. The entire Cross Tour idea is going to smoke Subaru out. It's absolutely... It's going to kill them. I mean, it really is. They don't have to not compete. All they have to do is admit that they can't make EVs for a damn dime, and they can sponsor this. You know what I mean? The same way billionaires all sponsor a car company when it's like Slate, they all give their money, these venture capitalists. Why can't the car companies do that? Why can't they invest in something? Like, these EVs will kill the Japanese brands. This is the main issue here. Brand dilution and delusion of reputation. If they just decided on one EV brand to kill them all, that they could put all their... They don't even have to develop new cars. Just rebadge them. You can make them at the same plants even. They're making them already. No new cars. This should be a very low-effort brand. Slap new badges on it. Because, again, remember, the Toyota EVs look like aliens compared to normal Toyota products. So it's not as if they'd be easily identifiable as either a Subaru or a Toyota. Subaru Vivio. This would be the Honda City rebadged as a Subaru. Does Subaru really need it? No. But do I think it would be incredibly useful? Yes, it would be really good for brand image. I think it would be useful. I think it'd be nice to have them. It's negotiable. Well, all of this is negotiable. Subaru and Impreza, they need to bring back the sedan. It looks like a dying car company when all they have is the WRX, the Crosstrek, and the hatchback. Listen, the sedan might not have sold well, but the sedan sold well enough to justify its existence. In my opinion, they should definitely bring it back, if not for sales, for brand identity. Moving back, Subaru Impreza Outback Sport. Again, this would be the the Honda CR-V Sport, rebadged as a Subaru. The Impreza Outback Sport was kind of in the middle. This would sell a lot better. It'd be kind of good. Then, Subaru Sambar, listen. Give me credit here. No American's going to recognize the name Sambar. Subaru's never going to bring the Sambar over to the United States. Sambar just sounds like a name that Subaru made up in their think tank, room, their inventor room, you know what I mean? Like, is it the best name to be using? No. Are people really gonna care? No. Is it at least gonna be a Subaru sounding name? Yes. I think that'd really help. Subaru Outback, just bring them back. They were fine. Why did we ever change it in the first place? Bring them back or make a slightly better version. It's staying a wagon based off of a sedan. Subaru, I'm telling you that, it's staying right now. Remember how I said I'd keep the current Subaru Outback? Yeah, well, it's the Tribeca. Listen, the Tribeca is kind of the redheaded stepchild of Subaru. They hated it, they brought it back, it sold kind of well, and then it didn't sell at all, because they killed it. Bring it back! The last generation wasn't that ugly, they're actually semi-popular, they're really cheap, why not bring this guy back? Listen, they already put all the money into development. Again, this is different with Toyota. Toyota can afford to kill off models that it just developed, even though if they really don't want to. Subaru can't. So just sell it as a Tribeca, and I'm sure people buy it and they'll say, it's a Subaru, it's great for my family. They'd love that, even though it's a total piece of crap. Subaru Ascent, again, it's fine the way it is. Maybe update it, give it a new thing, put the Subaru Touch. Good enough. And now the big picture. There's not a slide after this. This will be the slide that we'll end on. Listen, unless these auto companies figure it out, unless they stop diluting their brand with EVs that all of them are going to get, unless they stop hoeing out their car models, making them 9 different car models at the same time just rebadged, they're going to die a slow and painful death, just like Holden and just like every other stupid GM brand. They are actively GMing themselves. Honda is actually using GM vehicles now. Ridiculous. There is zero excuse. Their brand image is going to go down just faster than a gigantic skyscraper in an earthquake from like 1902. It's going to be bad. What they need to do is make an EV car company that they can all back. Stop making the EVs. Just say, we have an EV car company. Don't bitch at us. We're not making an EV. You can buy one of those. That's really what they need to do. They need to make more cars. They need to supplement their brand image. And they need to be competitive. We cannot all make the same cars. Toyota's making the same cars that Honda's making, which are making the same cars as Subaru's making, which are making the same cars as Nissan's making. They need niches. Nissan used to be good value. Honda used to be reliable. Honda never really had a brand identity. Toyota used to be reliable. Subaru used to be all-wheel drive. Mazda used to be luxurious. Mitsubishi used to be cheap. We need to bring these back because now the Subaru brands are controlling. Remember when all the American car brands were controlling and they shit everywhere and they couldn't figure it out? That's what's happening right now. The Japanese car companies have it in the bag. They're by far the biggest. They have the most market share. They're worth the most. They sell the most cars. They need to figure out how to get it together, or it will be a slow or quick. It'll either be quick and sharp or slow and painful. Either way, doesn't sound good to me. So with that, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments. I do put a lot of effort into these videos, and I like to think that you enjoy them. Alright, well, see you all real soon.